Hey guys, what's up? It's Tyler Kluver. This is the Snapped Podcast. So glad that you're joining me. On this podcast, we're going to talk about diet, exercise, mindset, training, sports, performance, and any of the things that we discuss, me or the guests that I bring on, is going to help you get better and help you get healthier in some way or another. We're glad you're here. Sit back, relax. Let's have it. It is Wednesday, May 5th. Wednesday, May 5th, Cinco de Mayo. Which means some of you are probably eating tacos today or Mexican food. The Mexican restaurants around town will be packed with people ordering out margaritas to go. Sounds like a good time. Today's topic on the Snapped podcast is going to be, I don't know how this hit me or why this came to. That's a lie. I do. And I'll get to that in a second. We're going to talk about mental toughness in general, but more so why, as people, we should do things that are difficult, things that are hard, things that we sometimes don't necessarily want to do, why we should do those, and why we should really try to keep them as a staple in life, regardless of where you're at. Doesn't always have to be a physical hardship or a labor, some hardship. Sometimes it's mentally hard. Sometimes things are emotionally hard. But those are good things. I think everyone's pretty aware of the philosophy of going through struggle creates hardened people, right? In some form or other, you've heard a quote like that or a speech like that that talks about the most successful people have gone through struggle, hardship, blood, sweat, tears, pain, injury, failure to get to those places of success. And it's true. And I think that there's a reason for that. And this was sparked by a conversation with Mark Wiseman, who, who for those who listen to the Washed Up Walk-Ons podcast know is a former walk-on running back to the University of Iowa. We talked with him on Sunday. And for those that listen to both this podcast and the Washed Up Walk-Ons podcast, if you're listening on the day that this comes out on Wednesday, again, Cinco de Mayo, tomorrow, Thursday, is when the Walk-Ons episode with Mark will get released. It's over an hour long, and I would say a top 10 episode. Mark is a fantastic guy, a very, very smart guy. One of the most mentally tough, just tough people I've ever met in general. And that includes a long list of tough SOBs. And we were talking about his journey and some of the things that he's done, some of the career moves that he's made. And it kind of just came up like why there was a certain point where it's like, why did you give this? He had a lucrative job. He gave up a job to go back and do something that paid him a quarter of the money. And he had to work 14-hour days. And this was while he was basically being a strength and conditioning intern at the University of Iowa. And he just talked about how that's just who he is. It was a stepping stone to where he decided that he wanted to get to after he changed course. And he said basically in the middle of him talking about it, he spat out the words, hard work or hard things create hard people. And then we dove into that a little bit, and it's been on my mind the last 2 or 3 days. Hard things create hard people. And not hard people in a sense of mean or those who hold anger towards others or resentment towards others, or those that are hard to communicate with, or those that are sheltered or closed off. Not that sort of hard in a negative sense, but in a sense of someone who is resilient and equipped to adapt and react and execute in situations that are not favorable. And why that's important in life is because for most people, at least, and I would say for probably everyone at some point, even those who have everything given to them, as I drop my pen on the floor, you're going to experience something that's tough in your life. For me, and I consider myself on the very far extreme of real hardships that a person has had to go through, on the easy side. I have not had very many actually difficult things, life-changing difficult things happen to me, and I'm very fortunate for that, and I don't take that for granted, and I'm very aware of it. It's one of the reasons why I think, combined with my personality, I seek to create those hardships through extreme physical training, which you've heard about on this podcast a little bit. But you have to be able to deal with those situations or those events, sudden loss in the family, divorce, um, you know, family members struggling through depression or drugs or addiction, car accident happens, something crazy happens in life, right? And no one steps in and just says, "Hey, I'll take care of this for you." Right? Like, you in the end have to be the one to process whatever situation you're in and deal with it. Right? This could be as simple as like, "Oh shit, I have a big project due in school." Well, generally, if you're not cheating, you're going to that project's due at some point, and you're going to have to be the one that actually does the project and does the work, right? No one's just going to step in and do that for you. And that's not necessarily a hardship, but that is an obstacle, something that you have to get done that you may not want to do. On the other end of things, you could experience sudden tragedy and loss in your family. And no one's going to step in and just process that emotional hurt and the gambit of emotional stress that you're going to go through that process. You are going to have to do that. And so it would seem that, similar to when we physically train our bodies, and the physical part is definitely one side of this, but we want to get better at being a person who can deal with those kinds of things, knowing that they are inevitably going to happen, right? Because if you're not somebody who is able to process and adapt and grow through hardship, your life can really get derailed. But even on a smaller level, maybe it takes you a little bit longer to get through things, get over things, process something, makes you a little bit less productive at work or a little less fun to be around for an extended period of time. It's all about being the best you can be, right? And so to do that, How do you harden yourself? How do you become one who adapts well in those situations? Well, you have to put yourself through that hardship. And you can do it in ways, and exercise is one that a lot of people use. And that's why I'm bringing it up on this podcast, because this is a health, diet, fitness podcast. It's kind of the way that I deal with this, for better or for worse. I oftentimes, I mean, it's Wednesday today, haven't worked out yet, but Monday and Tuesday's workouts this week have both left me lying on the floor, almost ready to vomit. I'm about ready to throw up at the end of the workout. Now, not every workout is like that, right? There's times where you need to go that hard. Um, a lot of people don't, most normal people who don't have any goals or competitions to train for, they just want to be generally healthy. You really never have to push yourself to that level where you're uncontrollably trying to roll around on the ground and find a spot where it doesn't hurt and you can breathe and your entire body isn't locking up. But I oftentimes, probably at least once a week, sometimes more, push myself to that level where I am almost physically ill at the end of a workout. And it's how I personally harden my mind, because everyone's kind of been to that spot before, but a lot of times it's because somebody pushed you there, right? You're working out with a buddy and you want to keep up with them, or you have a coach that's taking you through a basketball practice or a soccer practice or a football practice or a wrestling practice, or you were in the military and you had an instructor who's taking you through PT or something like that. And they, because they have expectations and because you have a standard to live up to, you have no choice but to push, or there's consequences. So you've been taken to that level of, oh my God, I think I'm going to die. I'm literally pushing myself so physically hard that it hurts so bad that I don't know if I'm going to be okay. But to take yourself there, and that's one thing, right? And that does mentally harden you. I did that all the time while playing football for the University of Iowa. And it's where I developed day after day after day for 4 years straight. And, we weren't always going through workouts like that, but it's where I developed the enjoyment of doing that. So much so that it hardened me mentally to now, even if there's nobody home and I am 26 years old, I don't have any expectation from anyone of doing anything that requires me to go that hard. Yet by myself, with no one to be accountable to but myself, I can push myself to that limit. That's a level of mental toughness that a lot of people don't have. Some people just aren't willing to go that deep and hurt that bad when there's no one watching. No one will know if I went that hard or not, except for me. And it's because I believe that using extreme physical conditioning and training is a way to harden a person physically and mentally to then later on prepare them to be adaptable and to deal well with hardship, whether it be physical or not. I think of it like this as we close down this episode. You don't invest money and save money so that when you're 65 years old, you can say that you have, at least most people, don't be responsible with all their money over the years so that they can just retire and say that they have $5 million, right? Having $5 million isn't cool. What's cool for most people, again, what's cool is what you can do with $5 million or $10 million. It means, it's what that money means, right? How that money can be used, how it can be applied to make your life better. Having the money, having the fancy car, not that cool. But driving the car, that can be pretty cool. Using the money or having the ability to no longer work, having the ability to retire, go places, travel, spend it on your grandkids, your kids. That's what's cool, right? So similarly, and I can't say that word, so maybe I should work on some hardship lessons to kind of make me better at talking. Similarly, if you are just mentally tough for the sake of being mentally tough, that's not that cool, right? It's what you can do with that mental and physical toughness. That's what's really fucking cool. It's like the next time the shit hits the fan in your life, something tough goes on in your life with a family member, or just everyday situations that would fluster and mess up other people's days. It's nothing to you. You are able to use that mental toughness or physical toughness to get through situations, and it's just another day. It doesn't take you too far from the path that you're walking. It doesn't get you off course. You're able to be efficient and productive and continue working and continue to be a good family member, a husband, a dad, a brother, a son, daughter, sister, mother, without situations and events in life steering you way off path. It's what you can do with that toughness. I don't know. I think of it like this: you're going to pay now or you're going to pay later. And if you choose to pay now, it's going to hurt, but it's going to hurt in a whole lot less consequential way than it will later on if you're forced to pay. Hope you guys all have a fantastic week. We'll be back again next week with the Snap Podcast. Peace.